Hey everybody, welcome back to the 80s Slashers YouTube channel. In this video, I will be discussing the 1989 slasher film Cutting Class. So I'll be, in this review, I'll be talking about the plot of the film, the setting, the location, the kills, some of the nudity that may take place in it. I'll talk about, the Blu-ray itself. And then wrap it up with some quick final thoughts. So let's just jump right into it. So now the obviously the most well-known aspect of Cutting Class, as you can see by the cover artwork here, is that this is considered the first leading role. Um, for Mr. Brad Pitt here as a young, I don't know how old he was, teenager, or maybe he's early 20s at this point, but yeah, one of his first early leading roles. He did a bunch of other, like, some, spot parts in smaller films, or some TV show episodes before this. But this is, I think, widely considered his first, and he's like one of the three obviously leading um, actors in this film. So um, yeah, so so that's something, I guess. We'll talk about that a little bit. But it should be noted that this is a slasher film that actually has a fairly impressive cast. So yeah, obviously, like I said, has Brad Pitt, who at the time wasn't a very well known actor at all. Um, but it also has Roddy McDowall, who, very famous, very well respected actor. He plays a smaller role as like the principal. But he has some scenes. So it's nice to see him in here. And then also we have Martin Mull, who plays a parent of one of the students. And again, not a lot of screen time for him, but enough. He's of the adults in the film. He's one of the main actors. So it's nice to see some actual, decent actors in these films. A lot of the times we just get a lot of nobodies, especially with the kids. Um, and the other two leads, they're pretty good too. I have to say, like, all the cast. It's funny. Looking back on it now, he clearly above everyone else had the talent, and you could see it every time he was on screen. He had a presence, he had acting ability. Everyone else around him was just a couple tiers below. So it is funny to look back and be like, oh, of which of these kid actors is going to have a career, like. And yeah, it's obvious that it was going to be him, not just the looks. Obviously he's the good looking, the model looks, but just his actual screen presence and his acting ability. It does stand out. So it's kind of fun to go back and watch a film like this just for that purpose. And he's good. He kind of, his character's kind of a, I don't know, not the, he's like the rich kid, the spoiled, he's not the greatest character likability wise. But yeah, he does a good job. Yeah, that's just I don't know, just a brief little thing. Like I said, this film is from 1989. I couldn't find any information regarding the budget or the box office and anything like that. California film, shot and made in California, which is kind of it kind of stands out. You can kind of tell these California movies. So but yeah, all right. So that's just a quick little rundown of what it is. So let's just jump right into the plot. All right, so Cutting Class. The plot of this film, basically, there there's a group of students, obviously, in school, and there's a student that's returning, who was in a like a mental institution for killing his father. I don't know how, like, maybe a year prior or something. It doesn't really say how long he's been in the mental institution. But he returns to class, and people start getting killed. So it's kind of a coincidence he returns, people start getting killed. So some of the students start suspecting, obviously he's the killer, but then other people have motives. And it's kind of, well, basically what this is, it's it's a whodunit type of slasher. So for a majority of the film, we have no idea who the killer is until you get the reveal at the end. That's basically the setup. There's not a lot of back plot story. I think there's like, a headline in a newspaper that says, you know, man accused of killing father released from mental institution. That's it. That's the backstory. Like a headline on a newspaper. Um, so yeah, so not not too much going on here. The people getting killed in this film are students, teachers, stuff like that, parents of students. Um, you typical. It's set in and around, the high school, the school setting. Um, so yeah, so that's. I'm just trying to think of more plot, but that's basically it. You don't want to spoil too much. There's a small group of friends here that like, that this is that the plot is revolving around, that involves them. They used to be friends and whatnot. So yeah, and it just plays out like that. They start to suspect each other and who's the killer. Is there someone else? There's a couple of red herrings thrown in, like maybe it's this person, maybe it's that person, till it all comes together at the end. So yeah, so now this film being set in 1989, I think it's really great because it kind of has a like, well, obviously it has like that late 80s early 90s feel to it. It kind of hovers between each decade, which is really fun. There's definitely some 80s elements still here, but then you get like some of the colors and like the hairstyles and the clothing that's going to be prevalent in, like, the like 90, 91, 92, 93 kind of thing. So it's kind of straddling the line between these two decades. So that's kind of a cool thing about this film that I yeah, I really liked. Um, so so let me see here. So like I said, this is like I said, it's a whodunit type film. Now I would say that um, the, the filmmakers, what they were attempting to do with the mystery here, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say they pulled it off completely. Like the reveal at the end of the film, it's not terrible. I just don't think that they were. I don't think they pulled off what they were going for. There was a lot of misdirection that was thrown in. A couple, I don't know. There's like three, four, maybe five different characters where the cast of they cast some suspicion on these characters to try to say, oh, is it this person? Is it this person? But to be honest, it was a little predictable. I don't know. It's like I said, it wasn't a bad mystery whodunit type thing. It just I feel like it could have been done a little better. It just wasn't as tight, I think, as it needed to be, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, I don't know. Some of the red herrings didn't work too well. But that's okay. It's fine. This is a late '80s slasher film. It's not going to be your your top shelf whodunit type films, but um, yeah, that's fine. So now another thing to talk about with this film and the plot. Now I've gone online. I've been reading some reviews on the internet and stuff, and it seems like not everyone, but there's a lot of people who feel that this film was made as like a spoof of the slasher genre, trying to make fun of the slasher genre type of thing, like kind of like how Scary Movie did that, and like Student Bodies, those type of films. I don't see it that way. I felt like the filmmakers were trying to create a serious slasher film, with a story. They're not making fun of the genre. The issue with this film, the one issue that I have with this film, is it just has some really weird comedy elements that just felt way out of place for a film like this. There's so many silly and unnecessary moments and like things that go on that just it's just yeah they're just kind of at a place, and like I guess I can see how people think they're spoofing the genre, but my opinion is I just feel like the filmmakers were just trying to inject some comedy into this film, which I don't know why you would want to do that with a like comedy's fine in slasher films, but like a certain type of this is kind of like a I wouldn't call it slapstick comedy. There was some that bordered. A good example is like I said, the Martin Mull character. I won't get into the you know any plot details or anything like that, but his character has something happen to him at the beginning of the film, and throughout the rest of the film, it keeps like every I don't know every 10-15 minutes, it cuts back to him um, repeating the same shtick kind of thing, and it's like it's meant as like comedy, and it goes back and they have almost like that silly comedy music. He spits out a few line of dialogues as if it's like I don't know. It's just really really weird, really out of place. It doesn't work, and it because I think the last scene of the movie is they go back to it again. Like that's how they end it. It's like a continuing punchline until at the end. Like that's the end. It's just I don't know. It didn't work for me. Um, but luckily these comedy elements they weren't too frequent, so it wasn't enough to spoil the overall experience of the film for me. It's just out of place and unnecessary. That's all I can really say. And if it wasn't for these weird comedy elements, this would have been I feel one of the better late 80s slashers that were released, because like I said it was really well made. For the most part the acting was really good. They tried a really a good whodunit type mystery story. We'll get into the setting and the kills later. um, but this film had a lot of stuff going for it. If they just would have played it straight as a straight up 80s slasher. Um, but they added this one extra element, and it just for me it didn't work. So that's my only criticism of this film. All right, so yeah, that's enough about like the plot. Let's talk about the setting. All right, so as the title implies, a large majority of this film takes place in like a high school setting, in California. So it's always sunny and summery and all that stuff. Um, the high school in this film is really good one. I really like the high school in this film. Um, for whatever reason, this school just had like a ton of different like bright colors all over the place. Again, it feeds into like that late 80s early 90s crossover. Like there's shots down like the hallway, and like doors are opening between classes, and like every single door is like one door is blue, one's yellow, one's green, one's red. It's crazy. And like when scenes in like the gym, like the like gym class, and everything's a bright yellow. All their no, it doesn't show it on here. All the the school gym clothes, they're all like a bright yellow and bright blue, and like the mats, everything is just the colors are really saturated, and it's just the look of the school. I don't know, it just I liked it. I liked the school. It's it was really good. Now, another thing that is really good about this is that I think they show almost the entire school in the film. It's all utilized. It's great. And obviously, you get some classroom scenes. There's scenes in the hallway with like the lockers in the hallway. There's scenes, in the gymnasium, like gym class. There's scenes in like the boys' locker room, the girls' locker room. Um, like the metalworking class, like the shop, the garage, like the mechanics class. There's like photocopy rooms, principal's office, art class. It just goes on and on. It's just like the whole school is just really fleshed out. You see a lot of elements like stairs running up between the levels of the stairs, and the front doors, and janitor's room. It's just there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's just great. Like they just really capture the school. Like it feels like a school slasher, which I love. But this film also has a few scenes that take place at the school at the nighttime. during night when it's like abandoned, and the only person around is like the janitor, the custodian cleaning the school. So there's some scenes running through the halls of the school at night, and I'm a sucker. I'm just a sucker for these night school settings. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I just really like, like the lights are dim. It's just, you're not supposed to be in school at night. Like if you ever go back to your school and you're roaming the halls at night, it just feels like taboo. Like this is not what students are supposed to do. So when you're in school and you're breaking the rules, breaking into principals' offices and doing all these kind of shenanigans, I don't know. It's just a really cool. It has that a little bit of tense, because like, oh, are they gonna get caught? Are they gonna get trouble? The stakes aren't too high. There's just like the janitor there, but it's I don't know. It just adds to the whole school setting. So yeah, so in terms of a setting, this is I feel like this has a really solid location. Like I said, the school is great. You see a ton of it, which is fantastic. But then just the overall late '80s, early '90s feel to the film is just it's just great. So yeah, I'm thumbs up for the setting in Cutting Class. Really good, really enjoyable. Um, if you're gonna set a film, title it around a school, you should do a good job of it and capture as much of that school as you can. And I feel like that's exactly what they did. So yeah, so I really like the setting for this film. All right, let's move on to talk about the kills. All right, so total kills in Cutting Class. I have six total kill scenes. One of them was a 2-for-1, so I believe 7 people got killed. But six total, kill scenes. Um, the kills in this film are decent. Like, I no complaints. I'm not, I've seen a lot of films in this genre that are way worse. This is um, yeah, decent kills. Now, one thing before I go on, this is the we'll talk about the Blu-ray. But this is the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray. This has an unrated version of the film. If you're gonna check this out, definitely, if you don't get this Blu-ray, try to find the unrated version. I think there's an extra like 5 or 6 minutes, and yeah, I one of the we'll talk about it. One of the special features highlights the differences between the two versions, and it's not a lot because there's not like a lot of practical effects. Um, but what they do, there's more of. So definitely check out the unrated version if you get a chance. Yeah, so like I said, the practical effects, they're like I said, they're not the highlight of the film. Most of the kills just involve like blood effects. You see some blood. There's no lot of like weapon, like you see in like the actual penetration into the body, and like when they're making like maquettes of heads, or and anything like that. There's none of that stuff, but there's some pretty good blood effects. There is a few shots like after kill effects. You see like an axe coming up, and you see the swing the axe, and the camera cuts, and when it cuts back, you see the axe in someone's head as they're dead, kind of thing. So those are nice effects. You don't see the axe hitting the head, but you see like the after effect of it, if you know what I mean. And those are fine. They did for those type of kills. There's 2 or 3 of those. They did a really good job. It looks like the dudes have axes in their heads and stuff. So yeah, and so that's always good. So like I said, they're decent. But the best thing about these kills is the uniqueness and the creativity that they used, which I always appreciate. A lot of these films, you get a killer, he has like a machete or a knife or an axe, and that's basically what you get the whole film, which is fine. Obviously we like that. But this film, the killer is very creative. There's a death by kiln, which is like an oven, basically, like a kiln where you bake pottery and stuff. So someone is killed in a kiln, so basically burned, cooked to death, which is very cool. There's a there's a kill. I don't know how it works. I don't know how this killed somebody, but there was a kill by photocopier machine. which is silly. Again, this is part of the silly humor, I think, but I liked it. I liked the photocopier kill. Again, it's ridiculous and silly, but the way they did it, the lighting, everything, it was really well done. So that was a cool one. There was a kill by um, trampoline and an American flag. You put those two things together. You put an American flag and a trampoline together, and you get a kill, which was one of the better kills. That one could have been, a little more practical effects would have made that one really good, but it was still good. Again, there's that weird comedy part to it as well, but for that kill, it worked. And then you have your standard kills, like I think there's like a throat slit. There's an axe to the head, hammer to the head. Those regular type of things. So, it's a good mix, but there's some really creative stuff in here. So yeah, I enjoyed the kills. They were fun. They were fun kills. Um, I'll have to say though that the killer in this film, like I said, the killer was just all right. And like I said, this is a whodunit film, so we don't have like a Jason Voorhees stalking, like you get a good look at the killer the whole time. You never see the killer right up until the end. You just see the kills. But the killer in this film, I swear they were like a magician in certain ways, just in the way that they appeared and disappeared and like timing. It just didn't always match up in my mind. Like if they were over here and then the camera cuts and all of a sudden they're there. It just after a chase down the hall and there's no cuts as they're running down the hall and they open another door and they're behind that door again and she's like what, like stuff like that. It just didn't make sense. And again, maybe that's where people think of like the spoofiness, like it's like a spoofing of the genre. So maybe I don't know, but I didn't like that. It was stuff like that, and they weren't like overtly trying to like say, oh look, the killer is from here to here in half a second. It's not like it just kind of was in the film. They just kind of presented it like that. And it just made me kind of scratch my head a little bit. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that. But overall, this kills in this film were good. Like I said, decent kills. There's some good blood effects, some good after kill effects, and they're really creative. So I can't ask for any more than that. They weren't too tame. Some of the blood effects were pretty good. Some of the kills were pretty like a mean spirited kind of cruel type of kill. So yeah, I liked it. So yeah, cutting class kills. Yeah, I'm on board. I like them. All right, let's uh let's move on and talk about the nudity. All right, so for the nudity in this film, there is one scene, and it's brief. It's very brief. It's just a quick little locker room. Girls changing in the locker room scene, and like not an exaggeration. If literally if you blink for maybe a second or two, you will miss it. And that's it. It was obviously thrown in, for like the quota, like these slasher films have to have at least one, one shot of female nudity. That's what it feels like. It was thrown in just for that. It's obviously gratuitous. The camera was like close up right there. Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Um, so, yeah, so like there wasn't too much in this film. There's a few other scenes, a few other weird scenes to be honest. Like there was like again, it comes back to that sense of humor. Just kind of like seems like all the male teachers were creepy and they were doing weird things to the female students and like to look at them. So there's some scenes of like I guess you call them like titillation scenes where there's some bathing suits, shots of underwear, stuff like that. They're pretty tame. But there was three or four of those throughout the film, but they were always accompanied by like I said, like a student like staring at a female as she's bending over in like a skirt or something like that. It was just I don't know. So it was like a humorous element. Yeah, I don't know. That's what they decide to go with. So yeah. So besides the one very brief gratuitous shot, There wasn't too much for nudity in this film, but that's okay. Everything else was pretty good. We had a good setting, some pretty good kills. Yeah, so not much else to say about the nudity elements in this. So let's move on and talk about the Blu-ray itself. All right, so as mentioned before, this is the Blu-ray released by Vinegar Syndrome. They're always the best. Like they're my go-to now for 80 slashers. They're the only company really. I shouldn't say that. The Screen Factory's putting out some. There's a couple. Code Red is putting some out still. We've been getting quite a few 80 slashers new releases on Blu-ray the last few months, but yeah, Vinegar Syndrome always does a fantastic job. This film, it looks fine. It looks great. Like it's probably never looked better. Newly restored, restored in 4K scan from the 35 millimeter original camera negative. So they always look good. This looks good. This is a bright film. I think it's California. Most of it takes place in the daytime. It's well lit, well shot, and that comes across. It looks real good. It looks yeah. It's filmed really nice. Same with the sound. It's crisp, clear audio. So like in terms of presentation, you can't ask for more than this release. You won't find it better than this. Um, yeah. Um, Case itself, basic Blu-ray case. We have you get a DVD version, which is nice to have, and the Blu-ray. Now this was the original artwork that came with it. Um, I prefer this, so I swapped it. I don't know which is the original movie poster. I feel like this is the I've seen this movie poster around more, but I have seen this as well. So I don't know which is the original. I usually stick with the original, but I like the red and the black. It matches. I don't know. It just feels better. This was actually one where you could buy when this first came out at Vinegar Syndrome. There was like two or three different cover art versions you could pick up for this. So, I don't know if those are still available. Usually those, you know, exclusives from Vinegar Syndrome sell out pretty quick. Mine came without. I just got whatever they had, the generic, regular, no slipcover. So, but yeah, it did come with some slipcovers, different versions. So, special features, like I said, it's pretty good. There's like I think there's what 4 or 5 interviews, with some of with the two main actors. There's nothing with Brad Pitt. It would be kind of interesting to see an interview what he thinks of this film now. It's I don't know, that would be a really good special feature, but it's not on here. The other two, like these two, there's interviews with these two, which is cool. Um, audio interview. Those are video interviews, and there's audio interviews with the director and with the cinematographer. And I love Vinegar Syndrome always does this. There is a commentary track with the Hysteria Continues, which is a great podcast that I love to listen to. And they basically just talk about 80s slashers. They do some other horror stuff, but every episode on their podcast, Hysteria Continues, they usually just review very in depth an 80s slasher, which is fantastic. And then the other one, like I talked about, the kill comparisons, the unrated versus the R-rated versions. Um, that it's only like 3 minutes, but it's really cool. Like I said, it just shows you the difference of what you're watching, and so yeah, so it's clear you want the unrated version. Yeah, and then you just get like the trailer and whatnot. So fairly decent special features on here. It's region free, of course, so you can pick it up wherever you're at. Yeah. So that's about it for the Blu-ray. Like I can't recommend it enough. This is clearly the version you're gonna want to get if you're gonna buy it. All right, so yeah, so that's it for the Blu-ray. So let's just move on to some final thoughts about cutting class. All right, so cutting class. I liked this film. I do. I like this film. I think it has a lot of good things going for it. It has, like I said, a really cool school setting. And it just it just captures the time period that it was made in. Just really good. You know, late 80s, early 90s. It's just, I don't know. For me, that's just a cool time to capture. I love the movies made at this time for whatever reason. I don't know. They're just like a transition from, I don't know, the cheesy 80s to like the different type of cheesy early 90s, if that makes sense. It's just a good time period, and this film seems to capture it really well. It's a fun little whodunit. Even though if they didn't pull it off exactly, I think as maybe it should have, it's still fun. I like a whodunit mystery. It's fun. Has some decent kills. Um, you know, um, it's just like I said, the only strike for me in this film is the weird comedy elements that they put in it. If not for that, I honestly feel this would be one of the best late '80s slashers. Maybe one of the best. Because I honestly feel it has everything. There's nothing that stands out about it. This isn't like top of the class or filmmaking. It's not that, but it's for what it is. They made a solid film, and it's one that I really I enjoy this. It's just a good fun film. I can go back and watch this anytime. It's just, yeah, it's good. So if you haven't seen it, definitely I recommend it. Check it out. It's fun. Just the few comedy things that they're mixed in. Just again, they're not prevalent. They're not all over the place. So it didn't really bother me. It didn't spoil it for me. But it's just something that needed to be pointed out. Some people, it seems from what I read, have read online, some people do have trouble getting past it. So I don't know, but that's my take on Cutting Class. So that's it, guys. So if you like this, if you want to check out the trailer for this, I'll put a link on the screen and in the description for the my video on the 1989 um, year in slashers trailers. And if you want to check out another school slasher, I'll in the description, and I'll put a link on the screen for my review. I did a Final Exam, another 80s slasher set in a school setting, early 80s. So there's quite the contrast between these two films. Yeah, so that's it. So all right, guys, until next time. All right, see ya.